Hello, my most awesome project managers. I hope you're doing well. You know that the PMP exam is going to be changing July 9th, 2026. So it's extremely important for us to master the new concepts in the PMBOK Guide 8th edition. So today we are going to be talking about the very first of the 7 performance domains. You know, in the previous PMBOK guides, we would refer to these things as knowledge areas, but they're not called knowledge areas anymore. They are called performance domains, and there are 7 of them. The very first is called governance. See, governance is all about integrating the ingredients of the project so that it moves along in a cohesive whole. You can think of governance as an improvised, augmented integration management area. For those of you who knew about integration, integration for the project manager is about the unification, the combination, the coordination of the project. So as a PM, there are certain things the PMI highlight in the PMBOK guide for you to understand and do. These things we will refer to as processes. So the governance performance domain has the following processes. Number 1, initiate project or phase. What do we mean by that? Well, initiating a project or phase just means formally kicking off the project or the phase by developing a document that authorizes the project. And this is referred to as a project charter. Now, a project charter could be created by the project manager on behalf of the project sponsor and signed off on by the project sponsor. The project sponsor is the person who is providing the monetary resources for the project, the person who understands the objectives that the organization is trying to fulfill, and this person is at a level that is comparable to the visibility and importance of the project. So the very first one, again, is initiate project or phase. The next process is called integrate and align plans. And all that means is you are coordinating and combining all manner of plans on the project, because the project has several plans. Schedule management plan, scope management plan, just you name it. Anything that has a plan needs to be coordinated and combined with other plans. See, we have quality management plans, communication management plans, stakeholder engagement plans. All these plans have to be combined in a sensible and streamlined fashion. The third thing that we talk about is plan sourcing strategy. And plan sourcing strategy just means you are planning everything regarding the procurement, what you need to purchase from outside. When we say sourcing, we mean sourcing what you need, the services that you need, the products that you need. This is where make or buy decisions are upheld. If you decide to buy something, then you got to source for that thing. If you decide to procure talent, you got to find that talent. That's what we're talking about here. Then we move into the next process called manage execution. And again, this is a governance process where you are ensuring that the work is being executed. This is where you are, in essence, coordinating all efforts to ensure that the work is being executed properly at a high level. Next, we have manage quality assurance. Quality assurance is checking the work. As you are carrying out the work, you should be checking the work. I didn't say you should be checking the product. No, the product isn't done. What you have at this point is really the work. So you are checking the work to ensure that the work is being done properly. That's called managed execution. Managed quality assurance, I beg your pardon. Next, we have managed project knowledge. Managed project knowledge is where you are getting all the knowledge acquired from the project and documenting it in a lessons learned register. We often use the term lessons learned, but we could also refer to what we're doing here as part of where we have a retrospective. You could have a final retrospective, of course, at the end, but you should incrementally be carrying out your retrospectives. So we call that managed project knowledge. You see, we have tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is knowledge that is hard to explain. It's knowledge that you might experience from carrying out a pretty complicated task or complex task that needs a whole lot of breakdown. Then we have explicit knowledge, which is easy to explain, which is easily shared in a document, for example. But tacit knowledge, you got to have some sort of experience for it to actually make sense. So we have tacit knowledge, we have explicit knowledge. You want to look out for those as you prepare for the test. Then we have monitor and control performance. And as it implies, what we're doing is we are monitoring the project. We are seeing and ensuring if we are following our initial plan. We are monitoring the project. We're ensuring that we're following the plan. And if not, if you find that the plan is being disregarded, if you're deviating from the plan, then you gotta control the project. So we monitor the performance, and then we control the performance by bringing the performance into alignment with the plan. And we're talking about schedule performance, cost performance, quality performance, all manner of performance, ensuring that you're adhering to scope, so on and so forth. The next one is called assess and implement changes. We used to refer to this as performing integrated change control. And what that meant is you are integrating all manner of change across the project. Scope change, schedule change, cost change, whatever needs to be changed on the project has got to follow proper protocol. You don't just make changes based on, the customer said they wanted this change, they'll be mad if they don't get it. No, you got to follow a procedure, right? And the procedure, just to give you a high level idea, you could have someone say, I would like this changed, this feature to be changed. If they ask for it verbally, you don't just do it. You got to ask them to fill in a change request form. That change request form is then read by the project manager. It's analyzed by the team. You want to understand what the ramifications of the change are, how much it would cost, and you want to look at the current performance. You want to look at work performance reports so that you can well understand what the implication of making those changes is monetarily. If we don't make this change, what are the ramifications, so on and so forth. When you've done that, all that information is then sent to a change control board if it exists on the project. This is a group of people who are responsible for approving or rejecting changes on the project. And if the change control board rejects it, then it doesn't get done. It gets documented still in the change log. If the change control board says, oh yeah, let's go ahead, it's still documented in the change log. You share the information with the stakeholders, and the team goes ahead and implements the change. Of course, after they've updated the necessary documents. And if the sponsor and the customer are not in the change control board, they will have to be notified at some point, right, before the final decision is made. Now, that doesn't happen on every project. It may not be reality for you in the real world, but I will let you know that on many projects, especially high visibility projects, government projects, this is the order of the day. So this is not some Alice in Wonderland thing. It does happen. So just be aware of that. All right, so that's assess and implement changes. And last but not least, we have a process which is called close project or phase. And all this means is we're either closing out the project or we're closing out a phase in the project. See, you can close out a phase in a project, a segment of a project, but that doesn't close out the entire project. And then you can close out the project as a whole. Okay, my friends, so we've been studying the governance performance domain, one of the 7 performance domains. And we've talked about initiate project or phase. We've talked about integrate and align plans. We've talked about plan, sourcing, strategy, make or buy. We've talked about manage execution. We've talked about manage project knowledge. We've talked about monitor and control performance. We've talked about assess and implement changes. And lastly, we've talked about close project or phase. Remember, this is one of the 7. We have 6 more to go. Remember that each one of these tasks maps back to what we now call focus areas. Really, the old language was process groups. So you got to still remember that each one of these maps back to initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. You got to know which one maps back to which. A quick way of remembering is if something has the word planning, it probably maps back to planning, right? Assess and manage, assess and implement changes belongs to monitor and control process group, the monitoring and controlling process group. Close project or phase maps back to the closing process group, and things like this. You do have to be familiar with that. Okay? Thank you for joining me today. I wish you all the best in your prep. Remember, I am supporting anyone who is getting ready for this exam at the website pmradio.org. That's pmradio.org. You take care and bye for now.